Hello and welcome to another edition of Comics and Pop. And tonight we're going to have a very heated conversation tonight. I'm just going to say that. But before we get to that, just want to say, let's go give a big congrats to Troy, who just became a grandfather. And I just want to say that this makes Troy old, not us. So,
it feels like you can't be a grandfather unless you've got gray hair and you got a cane.
You took care of that part, right? What's the baby's name?
Rylan.
You had to think a second.
I had to because I've been saying Jalen. And she keeps correcting me. She's like, no, I don't know who that is. And I'm like, just the baby. I told her to go with Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yes.
She told me no. So,
well, I just want to say that all those years, I still think of you as someone I met in middle school. And I can't believe that you're a grandfather now. And I'm like not much older than when we first met. So that's just you. But let me get back here. Here's our conundrum for this evening. Okay, we said we're going to have a top 5 Marvel villains list. So sounds simple enough, right? It should be simple enough. And we each went on and did different things. Like I just took it the whole Marvel universe, and I'm not going to mention any names, but he's from Colombia, and he went off and did the top 5 movies. Marvel movie villains. So those are two very different lists because who might be good in the comics might not be good in the movies and vice versa. There are several people in the movies that are great villains that I just think are in comics. So we have two different lists and everything was comics and pop almost fell apart tonight. That's all I got to say. It almost fell apart. And this might have been our last episode because there was a lot of in turmoil and infighting, but we straightened it out and we're going to try to do Troy. Troy was the calmer head here. He prevailed. So we're going to do our own lists, basically.
So basically, I guess a little background here. As Fed Colombian, one of the reasons that I keep looking over that way is because Colombia is playing Brazil right now, and Colombia is up 1-0 at the half, which is really exciting. So being a professional podcasters, the three of us have been doing this for a while.
6 episodes under our belt, right? I mean,
exactly. I mean, we're pros, and so one of the things that we decided was, hey. We want to try to keep our podcast, pretty much up to date and current with the times and things that are happening. Most of the podcasts that we've done so far have been on current events, like Loki and upcoming DC movies and, things that are happening at the moment. So we figured, hey, every once in a while, let's do a podcast about just have a filler podcast, right? That has nothing to do with current events.
Filler, but
right, exactly. Just like a podcast that we can that we can put, for our 189 followers thing, right? So we can put for our 189 subscribers, and they can just go in and listen to our beautiful voices, right? So I was like, hey, you know what? Why don't we do a top 10 list of, the top MCU characters, which are in the movies? And these guys, oh yeah, great. So then our exalted leader, Jonathan, says, you know what, let's make it 5, because it's, there's 3 of us. If we make 3 lists of 10, it's going to be too much. I'm like, I agree. So we're going to do our top 5 MCU characters. So MCU, for those of you who are following, is the Marvel Cinematic Universe, meaning, the movies, the Marvel movies that are out right now. So my list is based on the 5 villains who so far have appeared in the Marvel Universe and the Marvel movies that I think have been the best so far. Thank you.
I take extreme offense at this because if we go to the transcripts, and I'm going to right after this, by the way, I kept writing Marvel villains. Period. Marvel villains. And that is it. And so we're going to do it. We're going to have 2 different lists today. And there are some people that I would definitely include on the movies who are great villains in the movies who I just bore me in the comics. But
isn't Troy doing like a GI Joe list or something like that?
Troy's just gonna be. Troy did five top five favorite moments of Kang.
He's coming. Kang is coming. I don't know about Mephisto, but Kang will definitely be there.
I just want to know, if we all seen Loki episode 3 yet? Which we're going to have to talk about some. Okay. Enchantress. That's what
right. I didn't like episode 3 that much. I thought it was a little bit of a not a letdown because it was still good, but I don't know. It was kind of like it felt a little like, like we kind of knew it was a female Loki Enchantress, whatever. We had discussed this before, but now I guess it's pretty much confirmed that it's going to be the Enchantress. But it felt a little like a little anticlimactic. I don't know, maybe exactly.
Well, I like it.
It can
still be Kang,
right? Yes, it's still gonna be Kang, right?
She was a human. The Sylvie version. She was a human. She was one of the residents of Braxton, and she inherits the power of the Enchantress. So she's like the human that becomes the Enchantress in Braxton, which they could play into because that's where Asgard was in the comic. That's where they're at now. All the Asgardians are on Earth. So they're interacting with the humans. And I don't know if we're doing spoilers on this episode or not, but
spoilers, bro. We spoil everything.
Let's spoil it.
That's what we do. We spoil it.
We're 60-day-old milk, man. Let's spoil it. So they're talking about all of the people from the TVA being humans and not knowing that they're, human and not just made out of the nothing, out of the ether.
Right.
She is a human who now has the power of a god. And I'm wondering if they're going to play it so that she knows that, or is she going to be like them and just not know that at one time she was just some chick shopping at the mall,
Well, you know what? I kind of think she knows it because Loki didn't know it. He said, Mobius told him that that all the people at the Time Variance Association or whatever, they were created by that they were created, not that they were humans in before. So when Enchantress said that that when she was trying to get the information from the agent, she was based it on her life, and as a human, he was shocked. He didn't know that. So I'm guessing she probably knows.
Yeah. And I wonder, time's got to be kind of wacky because she says she went back 100 years, and 100 years from then put her kind of like right now. She was in a mall. So I'm thinking, where are they at? That she went back 100 years and came to now.
In this episode, when they were on that moon at the beginning of the show, it said that the year 2077.
Oh, yeah.
So they're in the future.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I did enjoy the episode. We're going to have to get to the villains in a second. I did enjoy the episode. I think it, left off on a fun cliffhanger. Also left off everyone was talking today. Does Loki have one of the Infinity Stones? Because, he started exhibiting some new powers last night, turning time a little bit, playing with time. So that's something to keep an eye on for the next few episodes. But anyway, let's get back to why we all came here tonight. Our top 5 villains of whatever. And we're just opening it up there. I have my neighbor a couple of houses down who I can't stand either, so I might put her on this list also. So anyway, so I'm going to start with Carlos here. Let me hear your number 5. Let's hear who you got.
So being that I follow instructions, and and my list is based on who I think are the top 5 or who are my favorite top 5 Marvel villains so far in the MCU that have appeared in the movie, starting from Iron Man #1 until now. So, that includes, the Iron Man movies, Thor, Captain America movies, the Avengers movies, and so on. So for me, You ready? Drum roll. Number five. Number five, we have the Red Skull, which has appeared in Captain America. And then I guess kind of like had a little bit of an anticlimactic and right in all the Avengers movies, you know, was kind of, you know, his role in that whole Infinity Saga was kind of like left to be desired, I think, in my mind.
Yes.
But I love the actor Hugo Weaving, fantastic actor. So, you know, that's why I put it at number five. Number four.
No, one at a time. We're gonna go around. Number five, Troy. Let me hear your number five. We're gonna build this down and build suspense.
My number five. My number five would be a guy called Midnight's Fire. He was a villain for basically he was a villain for Midnight Thrasher, but for the group Young Warriors, and he had enhanced speed.
He has not appeared in a movie yet, right, Troy?
He has not appeared in a movie.
Oh, okay.
See, the way I understood it was we were doing. At first, I thought it was just the MCU movies, but then when I started making a list, I was like, I better check because I'm going to be like, hey, yeah, it's just MCU movies, and you guys are going to have different lists, and I'm going to look like, you know,
we would never do that, Troy.
So I was like, I better double check and see what
yeah. Doing. I'm sorry. Please continue. Yes.
So this guy, he's I liked him because I always figured you could tell how good a hero was by their villain. And this guy, you know, Night Thrasher, I really liked him. He fought the Punisher, he fought Daredevil, he fought Bengal, you know, the Tiger guy. He fought all of these tough fighters and he was winning. I was like, man, this is great. And then Midnight's Fire came and dusted him. So I was like, whoa, that's interesting. At that time, I was really enjoying the young warrior, the new warriors. And when their villain came and beat them, I was invested.
Well, here we go. For my number five, he has not appeared in a Marvel movie so far. Although I'm hoping that we're going to get it in the next phase, which I think we will. But he's only appeared in the crappy, Fox movie. Was Galactus. To me, I always loved Galactus. I always loved, every time he appeared in a comic, I always loved it. I mean, the guy eats planets. What's not to love about that? And in the comics, the stories are riveting, and I was so upset with the way that they handled that whole premise in the Fox movies. It was just awful. Maybe even turned me off of the Fantastic Four for a while even. But I cannot wait to see Galactus appear in the regular MCU. I want to see how they handle that, if they did it anything like the comics. All right, so let's go around to number four. Carlos.
Did Galactus really appear in the Fox movie, though?
He did not appear. It was a cloud, right?
Yeah,
That's exactly. It was what they were
Exactly.
referring to it as. But it was awful. It was just awful.
So back to the list that, this podcast is supposed to be based on. Number four, my number four villain, based on the Marvel Universe, for my favorite, is Obadiah Stane, who is played by the wonderful actor Jeff Bridges. Iron Man, as everybody knows, is my guy. So that Iron Man movie was the one that started the whole MCU. So he was excellent in that movie as the Ironmonger. So he's my number four.
Troy, number four?
Number four for me would be Omega Red. I liked Omega Red, again, because he was a villain for Wolverine. And at that time, when I was reading X-Men comic books, Wolverine started out fist fighting with the Hulk, and I'm like, wow, that's the thing, right? He's not super strong. How's he doing it? I was intrigued. I was pulled into that. And then when he was with the X-Men, he was a great character. And it just didn't look like anybody could stand up to him face to face, toe to toe, and outfight him, aside from maybe Captain America. And then Omega Red came, and he had those tendrils, and he was choking Wolverine out. And I was looking at the book, and I realized my hand was shaking because I'm like, he's about to kill Wolverine. And it amazed me. I didn't think there was anybody that could do that, but I like that guy. Now I dig him.
Still
It's
one of my
actually
favorites.
a really hot comic book right now. The Omega Red first appearance of the X-Men #4, the new X-Men series that they did in the 90s, #4, because a lot of people are specking on it because there's a lot of rumors about him showing up in
Of course.
MCU.
Yeah,
Still one of my
I hear he's
favorite.
gonna be in Black Widow.
Hope. One of my favorite Wolverine moments is when the Hulk tears him apart. That's still one of my favorite movies in But my #4 is the Juggernaut. I just love the character. He just does not stop, keeps coming at you, and I love the way that he even appeared in the Deadpool movie. Just kept coming and coming, and he was like funny. He didn't care. He's telling you he's gonna hurt you, and he goes ahead and does it. I hope that he'll come on over to the regular Marvel universe too in a movie, but I thought that was just a really fun character. Okay,
Yeah.
#3. Let's go around.
#3 for me is Ultron from Avengers: Age of Ultron. Again, links to Iron Man. He was originally basically based on Iron Man, on technology. So played by the wonderful James Spader. That Avengers movie was an excellent movie. And
I don't think that movie gets its due. I think that movie's a lot of people don't like it, and I love that movie too.
And Ultron, I mean, he was so good in it, man. That part, when he's like when he's talking to Ulysses S. Claw, I guess when he first cuts his arm off, whatever, that part is so cool. He's like philosophizing, and he's like, oh, and he cuts his arm, like, oh man, I'm so sorry. It's like, it's so cool, man. But Ultron is #3 on the MCU list.
First of all, I love in that movie. I love the whole conversation that he has with the Vision. That is a great.
It's awesome.
Movie.
Yeah.
Troy, #3.
#3 for me would actually be in the MCU. Killmonger. I like Killmonger because he brought me, again, he drew me in. I like a good story, and he drew me in. He had a legitimate reason. I think the best villains are counterparts for the hero. They give the hero, a really tough go. The next best villains are the ones who 100% believe they're doing the right thing. Like Thanos thought he was doing the right thing, but he was a lunatic. But in his lunatic mind, I'll kill half the people. Instead of doubling the food, I'll just kill half the people. So, he was a lunatic, but he thought he was right. Killmonger thought he was right. He was like, you know what? There's oppression. There's people are looking at people the wrong way. I don't like it. People are down on each other, but I can fix it. I'll just steal all the high tech from Wakanda, and I'll blow up all of the people who think the wrong way, and then I'll just rule the world, and then it'll be better. He honestly believed that, and he was emotionally invested because of the death of his father and the tragedy with his family. And I was like, man, that's a really thought out character.
Well, both of yours now, I might have if I had done a movie list because I like both of them in the movies much more than I like them in the comics, both of them. Yeah. But they're both good in the comics. I don't know. So it didn't make my cut in movies. But Ultron is a really great villain anyway. Also, Killmonger too. And I'm going to get to what Troy said in a moment, actually. But my #3 is Dr. Doom. I don't think another one who I thought was just lousy in the Fox movies. They did him wrong because Dr. Doom is such a great villain. Again, he thinks he's right. Well, he wants world power. He wants to dominate everyone. And Dr. Doom doesn't care. You always see these things with these villain team ups. Dr. Doom doesn't care about villain team ups. He doesn't want to help any other villain. He wants to be the one. That's it. And I cannot wait for the Fantastic Four. I said it before with Galactus. I will say it again more with Dr. Doom. I want to see Dr. Doom done right because Dr. Doom is pretty much probably the villain in the Marvel universe, if anything. So yeah, I got to see him done right. All right, we are closing at #2.
So yeah, Dr. Doom is. I agree with you. Dr. Doom to me is like on a Mount Rushmore of Marvel villains. He's one of the top 4 villains, top 5 villains of all time. Absolutely. And he, in the Fantastic Fantastic Four movies. The actor who played him, I thought he was pretty good. I think he did a good job, even though the movies were not so good. But I think that the actor, the guy, he's from that Skin show. I forgot what it was. But anyway, I liked him. But number 2, is it right?
Yep.
Number 2. So number 2 is the reason, kind of like what that I kind of said. Let's do a show about list, because number 2 to me is Loki, and obviously we began the show talking about Loki, and Tom Hiddleston is, like I said, one of the best castings in the history of any superhero movie, villain movie. He's been fantastic as Loki, and the character Loki has been done so well that you can't. He's one of those villains that you can't help but like, right? Usually there's a lot of villains that that basically they're the villains, so you want them to be defeated, right? And but Loki is like, he's kind of like an anti-hero, kind of like the way Killmonger is in a little way, because you kind of agree with his message, But Loki is just, he's perfect, man. So he's number 2 on my list. MCU. These guys, unbelievable, these guys.
Troy, number 2.
Number 2 for me is another Wolverine villain. He became a Wolverine villain, Sabretooth. Sabretooth started out as the Slasher, and he was teamed up with, can't remember the guy, the Constrictor. And they used to fight Power Man and Iron Fist. And back in those days, I was like, well, he's supposed to be as strong as Power Man, but they've got him fighting as well as Iron Fist. I was like, he doesn't even need a Constrictor. He can just fight these guys by himself. And then eventually somebody somewhere in Marvel said, hey, feed him to Wolverine. And they did. And he turned out to be even better. And I was like, I like that guy. He's basically a bigger, stronger, evil Wolverine. And like I said, at that time, I'm reading the X-Men, and Wolverine was my guy at that time. And I was like, man, this is another guy that if he really wanted to, he could probably dog walk Wolverine. He's bigger and stronger than he is, and he's got the same powers, but he's like 10 times stronger. So I'm like, I like him a lot, especially the fact that he is a lunatic, that he's killing women and men. And, he hunted, I saw a book where he hunted a Wendigo, and the Wendigo was scared. And I was like, wow, that's deep. So I like that guy.
What do you think about
he's another guy that they did wrong in the movies.
Right,
too.
that's what I was asking, Troy. What do you think about his movie part? What do you think about that?
Well, they did him twice in the movies. The big guy, I can't remember his name, the ex-wrestler did him originally in the X-Men movies. And then the guy Liv or something like that, whatever his name is. Liv Schreiber. He did him the second time. And I think the physically, the first guy had it right physically, but the attitude and the character, the guy, he's way better actor. So when they showed, I'm cutting away for just 5 seconds. They showed, it was a meme, but I don't know if it was a real thing. They showed the DC guys prepping for movies, and they're all, in the gym, hanging in the back, lifting weights and all that kind of stuff, and getting bigger. And then they showed the DC guy or the Marvel guys getting ready for their movies, and they were reading the books. They were doing the research, and it shows. Because that guy, the Liv guy, he was Sabretooth to me. He wasn't big enough, but his attitude, like when he went to the tent and he tells the guy, the guy's like, yeah, I'm not scared to die. And he's like, how do you know? You've never done it before. That's creepy. But
I've not seen that meme. I got to see that meme. So.
I'll find it. I'll send it to you.
That's good. That is true. It's very true. Yes. So my number 2 is based upon what you both said already. Same thing. A character who thinks he's right morally, who thinks he's doing the right thing, and does things based upon the way he's been treated. My number 2 is Magneto. And first of all, I always loved Magneto because in the comics, He's Jewish, so I love that character. And but you saw it. He came out of World War II. He was in a German concentration camp. He discovered his powers. That's one of the versions. There's so many different backstories that they've given him that was one. So I like him. And then besides, he was treated one way because of his religion, and then he's a mutant, and then he's treated the same way, put down upon because he's a mutant. So in his mind, these people are evil. So he's got to take care. He's the one that's doing good, in other thing. So, he's the hero in his mind. So I do love villains like that. And I think Magneto is just a great complex character. It's a lot of the times you're rooting for him. You are rooting for a lot of the things that he's doing, against the soldiers or the people that, have oppressed the mutants. So you are rooting for Magneto and a lot of the times. So and plus that was one of the few things in the movies that the Fox did that I thought casting was fantastic. I thought, Ian McKellen was just a great character, and did a great actor for the role. He gave the character such nuance and a lot of depth to it, and that's one of the things that is going to be a shame that they won't be able to use him again now in the Marvel movies when they introduce him. So I do love that casting. So all right, so here we go. We are now at what moment we've been waiting for, our number ones.
Actually, real quick on the whole Magneto thing, I think that the guy in the newer X-Men movies that they did, the guy they cast Magneto, he was really good too.
Yes, he was.
He was really good. What's his name? Macavin? No, what's his name? I forgot his name. Macavin. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
He was really good. And yes, the whole him being Jewish, that was the whole Chris Claremont when he took over the X-Men. He kind of he was the one who made him Jewish and brought that into it.
Fassbinder.
Yeah. He was a really good casting.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that. So number one on the list of the top MCU villains. All right. I actually, since this is comics and pop, I'm gonna pull my special camera here, and you guys see Iron Man.
All I know is that you're zeroing in on Iron Man's crotch. That's all I see that you're zeroing in on.
Is it? How about this one?
Yes,
you see that one?
Go. Yes.
See that? That is Iron Man, number 55, the first appearance of the number one on the list MCU Marvel villain, Mr. Thanos. Right? So Thanos has been, probably arguably the best villain so far in any movie that I can ever think of, having to do any superhero movie. I mean, and the cool thing about it is the casting. He was obviously played by Josh Brolin, but since it's CGI, you can't really see the actor. But I mean, I can't really think of any of another movie or movie series where a villain has become such. The Thanos is pretty much, before the movies, was unknown. Nobody knew who Thanos was unless you knew the comic books, right? But Thanos has become like pretty much folklore, right? Everybody knows about Thanos. So it was so well done. The acting, the storyline, everything about it was perfect. There was nothing that you can criticize from my mind, from those Avengers movies, the Infinity Game, the Infinity War and Endgame. Everything was, perfect. Everything that led up to it, all the at the end of the movies and stuff, when you saw little snippets of him, you knew that he was coming, Thanos was coming, and then it was everything we wanted, we expected, and more. So he's, to me, number one so far, and I don't know if he could be beat.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll say Galactus could beat him, but.
Well, you know what? Galactus doesn't really speak in the comics. He's more of this giant thing. He has a herald that kind of speaks for him. So Thanos is, to me, Galactus, if they do him right, is going to be fantastic because we love Galactus. But Thanos is he's an actual, being, character. So the whole storyline is just amazing.
Wasn't Thanos a herald of his at one point? Didn't they do a storyline with that? I'm trying to remember. I could swear yes, but I got
sure. He's had a few. He's had a few heralds, but I'm not sure if Thanos is one of them.
I know Ghost Rider and Superman were.
That's another.
He's had a million of them.
Yeah.
But there's so many that he's had.
That it's another one that I think is fantastic in the movies, and I'm not sure if I just put it in a comic one. I don't know. He's a great comic villain too, but I don't know if he'd make my top 5 there. But in the movies, he's fantastic. And like you said, Josh Brolin was incredible. Right, number 2.
That's the thing with the
number 1.
DC and the Marvel. With DC, they're always like Superman. He's the powerful hero. Batman. He's the world's greatest detective. Wonder Woman. Princess of the. Everybody's got to be the top tier.
Right, yes.
They're concentrating on making that character the best. And in Marvel, they're writing a good story. Even when they translate it to the movies, I mean, the ending, a 10-year journey to Thanos.
Right.
But you got little peaks of him, I'm grabbing the gauntlet, I'll do it myself. And,
right.
They're you're courting death. He was popping in and out, and there were hints about him. There was great story writing. The build up to Thanos was incredible.
And I think also, like you said, and Marvel puts in the thing, they want to give each of the characters things that we can identify with, even because they're not like these, even though like these could be these gods or whatever, that we can identify with them.
Yeah, I like, because Thanos, he was, even as evil and vile as he was, it hurt him to have to kill Gamora.
Right.
So, but my number one guy, my number one villain, if I had to be a villain that wasn't, so super powerful and I could like blow up the planet or something, if I had to be like a villain, I would want to be Taskmaster. Because Taskmaster, he can mimic the abilities of anybody, right? As long as they're regular abilities, they're obtainable human abilities, he can mimic them. So I could go into a bar filled with crazy bikers, and I could be Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, Hulk Hogan. I could have the moves of everybody, all of the professional fighters, and there's no way anybody could stand a chance. And then if you threw in weapons or whatever, and I got all that skill, and all I got to do is watch a TV about watch a TV about kung fu guys. That's all it takes for him. And without any superhuman abilities, he can fight Spider-Man and Captain America and outshoot Hawkeye and all kinds of stuff like that. I'm like, that guy's a one-man supervillain team. So I liked him.
I like Taskmaster too. Troy, when one of these days, the three of us are going to have to do our top 5 wrestlers podcast. We'll talk about that, and Troy's going to have to tell the Hulk Hogan story that he has during that time. So, but we're not going to spoil it now, but because you'd have to wait for the wrestling podcast. We're going to have to do our top 5 wrestlers. But all right, so my number 1 is Carlos is an Iron Man guy. I'm a Spider-Man guy. My number 1 is the Green Goblin. Always my favorite villain in the Spider-Man comics. Oh, I think he's, Norman Osborn. I even loved when they did the Hobgoblin later on, the different versions. I just love the character. Here's a guy that has, again, rich and crazy. Good combination. And he just wants power. And he's behind a lot of the stuff in the Marvel universe. He starts spinning. That part didn't come till later, but again, he is behind a lot of the things in the Marvel universe, a lot of the villainy, and the worst, he killed Spider-Man's girlfriend. So that was always the worst to me. I mean, I always liked Gwen Stacy much more than Mary Jane. I was one of those people that did like Gwen more than Mary Jane, and it just was awful. I remember reading that comic like, no, they did it. How could they do this? And I love the Green Goblin, and I don't know if I thought he was okay in the movies. I didn't think it was a great, not the casting. I thought the casting was fine. I just didn't love the way that they did the villain in the movies. I don't know how else they could do it, but I want to see better when they eventually bring him into the Marvel universe. So I think that just to touch on Green Goblin real quick, when they bring Osborn into the Marvel universe, it's got to be a really good casting because of
the role that he plays in the Marvel in the Marvel comics. There's so many, especially if they're going to be going down the Illuminati and it's operating that, Osborn is, he's huge in those stories. So hopefully it's a really good casting.
Oh, well,
they're planting the seeds. Oh, I'm sorry. They're planting the seeds. Somebody purchased Avengers Tower and they haven't revealed it yet. So I'm thinking, okay, that sounds like an Osborn kind of thing. Who's got that kind of money? So I'm thinking somebody purchased that. And I'm thinking they're planting seeds about the Sinister Six. They're thinking that the Spider-Man is going to cross back over. He's still owned by Sony. So he's going to cross back over to Sony. Maybe he brings the Sinister Six. Maybe he brings them over. I don't know. It's possible because they're thinking they're already going to have Morbius and the Vulture in the same movie. So that kind of crosses the universes. I heard that the Venom movie, their Maximum Carnage, they're going to be hinting that Spider-Man's in it if he's not actually full on in the movie. So I'm thinking they're going to cross the universes. That would be kind of cool.
I would like that. I just want Marvel to purchase back the rights from Sony already to get those rights back. But yeah, absolutely. Well, let us know. These were our top 5. Let us know in the comments. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Who are some of the other ones that you would put in that we didn't mention? And remember, and Troy, later on, could you just, when we release this, can you just edit out Carlos's comments about the MCU stuff? Could you just take those out? No, thanks. Anyway, thank guys, as always. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time on Comics and Pop. And remember, subscribe.
Subscribe, guys, and come up with your own list of whatever you want also in the comments if you want.
Like we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Bye-bye, guys.